I Hate the News is the weekly news bulletin from I Hate Politics podcast, a show about a human activity we love to hate. I'm Sunil Dasgupta. The week of April 30th, 2024. Student protests spread across campuses. Our report from DC's George Washington University finds evolving student demands. DC budget process is a peculiar thing and requires certification by the Chief Financial Officer before consideration by the U.S. Congress. A new report highlights tree canopy, or the lack thereof, around schools in the District of Columbia, and much more. Music for this episode comes from the unnamed singer and oud player performing at the protests at George Washington University's University Yard on April 27th, Saturday. There is good reason why college campuses have long been hotbeds of political protest. Campuses provide academic freedom and the ability to question authority, or, put in other words, the opportunity to protest. And college students, at least based on the essays they write about themselves, almost universally promise some degree of social transformation. That is, they see plenty wrong with the world. College administrators find it hard to quash protests without seeming to harm their mission of critical thinking and supporting students. And an asymmetric war, like in Gaza, produces strong emotions and grievances. The protests at George Washington's University Yard aren't huge. On Saturday night, April 27th, there might have been about 1,500 people, including onlookers. The DC police had blocked off the streets and kept a watchful eye. Earlier, university authorities had apparently asked the Metropolitan Police Department to clear the university yard, but city and police leaders seemed to have demurred. The atmosphere was more like an outdoor concert. That is, if you are allowed tents to concerts. And soon, there was a call to evening prayers. After the evening prayers, I spoke with a student who said she was one of the organizers.
My name is Reem, R-E-E-M. I am a sophomore, and I'm an organizer with the Student Coalition.
How long have you been involved?
I've been involved since October.
Since October?
I'm also an organizer with SJP, so I kind of transferred to the SCP once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and what do you study?
I'm a Middle East Studies major.
Oh, okay. How many students do you think are showing up right now?
I don't know. I know we've filled the street. It's too many to count.
Right, and are the authorities generally supportive? What's going on?
The university has been so repressive, in fact, that Metropolitan Police Department has even refused to enact the level of repression they're asking for. They asked for NPD to sweep the camp, and they said no. Can you just conceptualize how evil you have to be for the police to say they don't want to repress the students? We've demanded a meeting with administration. They have not given it to us. They have not given us our demands. But luckily, we have a great group of people that are willing to be here until our demands are met.
Okay, so tell me about your demands first.
Yeah. So, again, just to reiterate, we are here in solidarity with Gaza, and our demands are just working towards that end. So our first demand is an end to all academic partnerships with the Zionist entity that includes study abroad and exchange programs. Our second demand is total funding transparency, total investment transparency. This is about the endowment, and we don't know where our money is going. When a large large number of students on this campus are facing housing insecurity and facing food insecurity. We deserve to know where the money is going. Our next demand is amnesty for all pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionist speech for students and faculty. And this is, again, just because of the large amount of repression we faced, and not just now, for months, years, pro-Palestinian faculty and students on this campus have been ruthlessly persecuted. And our final demand is a total divestment from any and all companies that are materially supporting the occupation and the genocide.
Are you demanding for the end of the war?
That's not our call. That's not what we can demand from the university is divestment and support. We cannot that is our job as students.
Right, but what about the broader demand? Do you have end ceasefire now? What is the goal?
Obviously, we're advocating for a ceasefire, but we take direction from our comrades on the ground in Gaza. We take direction from them, and right now they are telling us to advocate for total divestment.
So that's the primary thing, not ceasefire?
No. I mean, there are other orgs advocating for that. There's Palestinian Youth Movement. We are a student group, and our target is the university. Okay. The university can enact a ceasefire, but they can divest.
Thank you, Reem.
Yeah.
On the other side of the White House from George Washington University, a different kind of drama is playing out over the city's budget. I spoke with Yeshim Sain of the DC Policy Center, who used to work for the Office of the Chief Financial Officer in the city. The budget in Washington, D.C. has a controversy now about the certification by the Chief Financial Officer. What is this certification about?
The district is interesting because it has an independent office for the Chief Financial Officer with very specific tasks assigned. These include making sure that we have enough money to pay for things, that we pass a budget that fits in our revenue picture, and it includes going to the bond market to raise money for capital. It also includes things like internal controls and making sure that each legislation is fiscally sufficient, meaning that when the DC Council considers the legislation, there's enough money to actually implement. So the budget certification is an extension of these responsibilities. We need to make sure that our budget is balanced when we send it to the federal government for review and for the local part of our budget for review and for the federal part for active adoption. And the CFO has traditionally played a role in this, writing a certification letter for the mayor saying that funds are sufficient, and when the council takes it over, the CFO has certified the budget through its analysis of the Budget Support Act, which is the legislation necessary to implement the budget. And now the city is facing a difficult fiscal future. The mayor proposed a budget that raises new revenue, cuts programs, and still relies on one-time funding. And the council is getting a lot of demand from constituencies that have been affected by program cuts.
What do you think the solution to this problem is going forward?
We have $2.3 billion of one-time money filling the gap between recurring revenues and recurring expenditures. The debate is whether the money is here now. Yes, we can debate that. But what we know is if we keep spending our past savings, they won't be there forever. So ultimately, we have to either grow our revenues. That can be done by raising taxes, which is tricky. That can be done by making the city really attractive. But another thing that probably needs to be done in the short run is really looking at our budget and see what programs are really offering high returns on investment, what programs are duplicative, and right-sizing the budget.
What is an example of that?
Sure. For example, emergency rental assistance grew rapidly. I believe before the pandemic, we had about $8 million set aside, and that number grew up to $40 million. one of the debates that's taking place in the council right now is whether we should still keep it at $40 million. But we really don't know how well this program is working, whether it's creating the right incentives for tenants to continue pay their rent, or maybe if the need is not as dire as it was before, and what other steps the city can take to make this program really targeted, serving folks that truly need it, but at the same time, not necessarily growing as fast as we can. Another program I can think about is the pay equity fund, where the city is topping off salaries of childcare workers. This came about during the COVID because the childcare sector really was badly hurt by it. And this was a way to bring, women back into the workforce so they have a place to send their children. And the way to do this is incentivize childcare workers to be in these occupations, get more credentialing, so on and so forth. These are all great goals and great aspirations. But what we don't know is whether the program has really increased retention or incentivized credentialing. We just don't know the answers to these. It's a great narrative, and we all want to support that, but we're not doing any program evaluations, and we should.
Fiscal prudence versus popular spending is an old government problem. Coming out of the pandemic flush, practically every local and state jurisdiction faces this trade-off. And while state and local government cannot, like the federal government, engage in deficit spending, it is also the case that the logics of government and personal finance are dramatically different. Individuals may cut a coat to the cloth, but governments decide what to spend on first and then legislate taxes to meet those needs. There are practical limits to taxation. High taxes results in capital and businesses fleeing. But too low a tax rate leads to underfunded schools and social inequality. Indeed, inequality resulting from decades of tax cuts is one root cause of the turmoil in American politics. Neither D.C. nor any other jurisdiction is going to balance the competing imperatives without political invective. Understanding the nature of the political problem here is perhaps the best way to lower the temperature. A new report from the D.C. area nonprofit Casey Trees looks at the city's tree canopy, key to lowering the literal temperature. Here is Vince Drader, Director of Communications at Casey Trees.
Every year we put out a tree report card to kind of try and guide not only ourselves but our partners in our mission to, again, restore, enhance, and protect the tree canopy of the nation's capital, and try and guide how we're doing towards the 40% canopy goal for the city. And this year we gave an overall B+. And we specifically focused on school tree canopy as one of our highlights. The overall average of school tree canopy is actually at 13%, which is, of course, far short of the 40% canopy goal, and certainly short of the 37% canopy that the whole average of the city has.
Between 38 and 13 is a big difference. Why?
I'd say some of the biggest reasons for that are often just land use. So a school might be on a block where it's only street trees. A good example of that is a school without walls. We highlighted a few schools. So School Without Walls doesn't have many places for trees, actually, and they're under development right now. So they're at a 11% canopy cover, and their potential is only 14%. So or close to 15%, I think. So there's not a whole bunch of places for trees, but that's kind of, we highlighted that one school because they're undergoing redevelopment. So kind of thinking about ways maybe that more trees could be fit in that area.
The built area imposes certain restrictions on the canopy. Are there ways around it?
We can't say, no, we're going to take out this playground and take out this field where kids play and put a forest, So it's definitely the difference between what's currently there and what's potential. And potential being, taking out just areas of grass or concrete or non-permeable areas that could be, with trees. So certainly there's different land use, different amenities and recreational facilities that need to be there. But when we look at what can be planted and what cannot, we can definitely see some opportunities for there to plant trees.
Vince Drader of Casey Trees, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Most of us have forgotten about COVID vaccinations now, a far cry from the enthusiasm of early 2021, when we would drive even 2 hours to get the shot. But recently, a friend got his 8th COVID shot, and I looked at his Vax card. Remember those? He got his first shot on January 29th, 2021, and a booster 3 weeks later, and then September 2021, April and September 2022 and 2023, and now in April of 2024. Worth keeping in mind that the shot is still helpful in reducing the intensity of COVID should you get it. Available at your drugstores and covered by your insurance. If you are not insured, city and county clinics can help. Maryland primary election is May 14th. Mail-in ballots are out and early voting starts May 2nd. On I Hate Politics, we have interviewed several local and federal candidates. Please look at the I Hate Politics library on your favorite streaming platform. The Board of Education races are likely the most important local races in Maryland outside of the city of Baltimore, where the mayor's race is hotly contested. That's all for this episode. I Hate Politics is produced by me, Sunil Dasgupta, and assistant producers Daniel Galileo, Katarina Gasek, and Catherine Amaya Escobar, with support from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I direct UMBC's political science program at the University's of Shady Grove in Montgomery County, where, among other things, we explore and learn about politics, government, and society close to home. Music for this episode comes from the unnamed singer and oud player performing at the protests at George Washington University's University Yard on April 27th. If you want to share your music on the show or know someone else who might want to, please email us at producer@ihbpod.org. See you next time.